Ever clicked on a video thinking, just one more before bed? Well, you just stepped into cool past, and you're not leaving until you hear the time Australia declared war on birds. Not a metaphor, not a poem. Actual birds, big ones, flightless ones. This is the story of how one of the most developed nations on Earth went head-to-head with a herd of emus and lost badly. They sent soldiers, machine guns, even trucks. And the emus, they just ran, mocked, survived, like feathered phantoms of chaos. So buckle up, because once you hear the words "the Great Emu War," you'll either laugh, cry, or want to move to New Zealand out of secondhand embarrassment. Welcome to Cool Past. We're about to tell you the most ridiculous war story in history. Welcome to Cool Past, where history isn't just a list of dates, but a series of ridiculous, fascinating, and surprisingly human stories. In the early 1930s, Australia was still reeling from the Great Depression. The economy was in shambles, especially in rural areas, where unemployment soared and food shortages became a life or death issue. The government encouraged agricultural production to combat food shortages. They rolled out policies like credit support, subsidies, and tax relief to encourage farmers to grow more crops. Sounds logical, right? Until nature said, not so fast. Because one of the biggest problems farmers faced back then? Massive herds of emus invading their farmlands. Let's talk about our main villain, the emu. Imagine a bird nearly 2 meters tall, weighing over 40 kilograms, can't fly but runs at 50 kilometers per hour, with shaggy, mop-like feathers and legs like an Olympic sprinter. Emus are native to Australia and migrate in huge flocks, especially during breeding season. And guess where they decided to visit in 1932? Right into the freshly planted wheat fields of Western Australia. They didn't just nibble on a few grains. They stormed through like feathered hurricanes, trampling fences, harassing livestock, and turning farms into fluffy hellscapes. Farmers were desperate. Their crops were ruined. They bombarded the government with pleas for help. So Australia made a decision that sounds straight out of a comedy sketch. Send in the military to take out the birds. No joke, in 1932, they launched the Emu War, a real military operation led by Major Meredith. The elite task force included 2 soldiers, 2 Lewis machine guns, 10,000 rounds of ammo, a tiny army mighty, but one that meant business. It was like duck hunting, except the ducks were huge, flightless, and faster than trucks. The Great Bird War officially kicked off in November 1932. Meredith and his team piled into trucks, machine guns in tow, with the belief, 3 days and the birds will be gone. And then, utter failure.
Oh my God!
The emus weren't as clueless as they thought. They scattered in groups, dodging bullets like ninja. Once, they ambushed a group of nearly 1,000 emus. The guns fired, then jammed. They hit only 12, and the rest ran like they were in a marathon. And the idea of mounting guns on trucks to chase down the birds sounds cool, but in reality, the trucks couldn't keep up with the birds. The terrain was as bumpy as an action movie. The guns shook like a broken washing machine. The result, not a single bird was hit. Not one. After a week of embarrassment and despair, the operation was paused. The tally? Just a few hundred emus were taken down. The tens of thousands remaining were still frolicking around like nothing ever happened. The press started laughing at the government. Emus defeat the army. Military tactics fail against a flock of walking birds. Public opinion erupted. The government was ridiculed for losing a war to birds. A few weeks later, the campaign restarted, this time with a bit more strategy. The bird kill count went up around 1,000 to 2,500 emus. Sounds like a success? Not really. The total emu population in that area was estimated to be over 20,000. The conclusion, still a failure. By the end of 1932, the military officially withdrew. The government ceased military intervention. The military campaign failed. The public laughed till they cried. The government, well, now let's just say no one wanted to talk about it again. But eventually Australia found a solution. Not with machine guns, but with shotguns, bounties, and barbed wire fences. Instead of sending in the army, they put rewards on the market. Whoever shot an emu and brought in the carcass got paid. The locals took care of it. And surprisingly, they were far more effective than the army. Well, they weren't wiped out. On the contrary, almost a century later, hundreds of thousands of emus are still roaming freely across Australia. They're no longer a major threat, but occasionally there are resurgence waves in agricultural areas. And the irony is, the emu, the bird that embarrassed the Australian army, now appears on the country's coat of arms. Alongside the kangaroo, the emu symbolizes perseverance, because both of them can't walk backward. A harsh lesson: never underestimate your opponent, even if it's just a flightless bird. And that's The Great Bird War, a chapter of history that's both hilarious and unbelievable, only from Cool Past. Because there are plenty more bizarre stories from history waiting to be told. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe and ring the bell to join us for more bite-sized time travel on Cool Past. Because here, we don't just study the past, we feel it, one epic misadventure at a time.